Hello there, it's Jan back from JB Crafts. Thank you for joining me. Welcome if it's the first time visiting. It's lovely to have you at the channel, and if you're a return visitor, thank you very much for the support. I am back today with another concept style card. So it's a fancy fold card, and although this didn't start out that way, it actually turned into a birthday card for my eldest daughter. So a previous video, the card was for my youngest daughter, and then obviously this one isn't well next month, but the way it came together, I just thought actually that's going to be a really nice one for her card. I'm having a landslide already. Let's put those over there. So yeah, it's a fancy fold. It closes down to 7 by 5 inches, so it'll go in a shop bought 7 by 5 inch envelope, and it's got a double panel, like a floating panel. So the main focal point is the design on the front, and then when you hold each side, it opens out to reveal a greeting and then a place to write inside. So this, I did consider leaving this blank, but it did look a little bit sort of bland, so I've just popped another sentiment in here, and there's enough room to write a message, or alternatively I may matte and layer the back of it to put a message on. But the idea is that once that one's closed, the second panel's concealed inside. So yeah, it opens up. It's not my idea. I saw this on Pinterest, and the lady had done a US size version of it. I can't remember her name, I didn't make a note of it, and I thought actually I want to make that into a 7 by 5. So all I've done is just resized it, and my actual card is made, it's deconstructed, it's made in two pieces, and there is a join here on the back of it, which nobody's going to notice. And as I say, I may matte and layer the back of it yet. I've not decided. So yeah, my eldest daughter is a writer. And I just thought she's also a book lover. She works in the bookshop. Her house is literally decorated in books, and both of the boys, both of my little grandbabies, both love books. They love reading. They go to the libraries. Yeah, doing really, really well. So yeah, this one was a stamp from my set that had got the little tower of books, and I've done it on a book note page that I've die cut. So I'm going to show you how I've done it. I've got lots of the actual elements prepared because I wanted again to concentrate on the actual folding for the card, which is really, really simple. Once you get the idea of how that works, again, it's not a difficult one. You don't actually need any dies. The only die that I've used was for the book page and the little flower embellishments. That's it. The rest of it is just scoring, folding, matting and layering. And I started off with the pink, the dotty pink paper, and then I've married that up with some lovely gold satin mirror card, some matte mirror card, which is really, really pretty. Different borders on it just to get your you know, sort of get your interest and draw the eye. So I'm going to pop that one over to one side and bring in the main pieces for the card to start off with. So like I said, it was deconstructed. The lady that had done hers on Pinterest had done hers from a piece of 11.5-inch card, which is what the A4 cardstock is in the US. But I wanted mine bigger, and the length that I needed, it wouldn't come out of A4. So I've got two pieces that we're actually going to stick together. That one wants to, well, I'll leave it that way until I've shown you the scoring. So I'll bring the scoreboard back out. I have popped some of the score lines in, but we'll go over them in here. So let's put that one to one side, and we'll start with the big piece first. So I've got a piece of card. This is a cream linen cardstock, and I think it's about 280 GSM. So it's a nice weight for a card blank, but with the amount of mats and layers on there, it's not going to be too flimsy. And it measures 9.5 inches and 7 inches tall. So when we've done the scoring, this panel here on the right hand side will be my 5 by 7 inch card base. And then I didn't want to go a whole 5 inches. It's almost like a fold back gatefold underneath, but I wanted the gap here in the middle. I didn't, traditionally a gatefold would join in the middle here, but I wanted the gap underneath just to signal that there was actually something going off underneath there, and you do get a little peek of the paper that's underneath as well. I'd gone very dotty on that one. I'd got spotty paper everywhere. So yeah, we started out cutting this. This is from an A4 sheet, and I've cut it at 9.5 inches across by 7 inches tall. And then what I want to do is I flipped it over to start off with, because my score line at 4.5 inches here, I wanted to be on the back, and I'll explain why I've done that when we come to fold it. And then I'm going to flip it back this way. So because we've scored at 4.5, we needed to divide this panel in two. So half of 4.5 is 2.25, and we're going to put a score line on this side at 2.25 inches. So 9.5 across, 7 inches tall, scored at 2.25 and 4.5. Don't worry if you don't forget it, if you're not turning it over. You can score it on both sides if you're not sure. So let's just move that bit, and we'll do the folding on that in a second. And then the second piece is the same height, so it's 7 inches high, and this is 5 inches wide. So I want to create that 4.5 inch panel for the other front, and I've got a 1/2 inch glue tab. So this side of the card here is the bit that we've just done. So from here to here, you can see that's that half. And then when we've got the score lines in this one, this is going to be the other half, well, the other side of it, with this 1/2 inch tab tucked around the back here. Oops, where's it gone? There, to join it together. All right, so it'll make more sense when I've actually folded it and shown you how it goes together. So this one, 5 inches wide, 7 inches tall, and I'm going to put essentially those same score lines in. I'm going to score, because I want a 4.5 inch panel here. First of all, I'm going to take the 1/2 inch off this side to create a glue tab. So I've scored at 4.5 inches again, and then we've divided that 4.5 inches in half. So I'm scoring at 2.25. So it's the same score lines as it was on this part of the panel. I've just got that extra 1/2 inch glue tab to join it together. And that's all the scoring that's involved. So nice and simple. And you can make these any size, absolutely any size. Now, the reason I flipped this one over is because when I folded this, I want to be able to see the linen texture. I prefer to have my folds, my score lines on the side that I'm going to fold. So I flip this over because I'm going to score it in, I'm going to fold it in half this way, like so. Now, don't think you've done it wrong. This doesn't actually match. There is a gap here, because this one was only 4.5 inches, this one was 5. So that is okay. When you fold it over there, don't think, oh, I've done it in the wrong place. It's not folded in half. And then I'm going to give that a really good burnish, like so. And then this one, the score line was on the top, because we're going to fold this back on itself like this. All right, and then again, make sure everything's running nice and straight, and then really give those score lines a good burnish. Hold them in place. So we've got the beginnings of our card. Now you might want to stop here and just put that floating panel on one side and just have a single part of it here. You could actually make, a panel that would fit on the front and just have it so that it opened that way, like so. But we're going to go for that double. So on this side, I've got my little glue tab, okay, which I'm going to fold in on itself. I could have done with scoring that one on the other side, but I forgot. So that one's going to come round that way to the front. All right, so I've got this one because I want this to fit around the back here, and I've still got my linen texture showing. And then this one in the middle is going to fold back on itself again, so just like we did with the first one. So when we get it in the right orientation now, we're going to have all this is all linen cardstock facing me now, and the smooth sides on the back. Okay, I've got my 1/2 inch tab that's going to fit under here. And then we've got those panels that fold in, and yes, there will be a gap in the middle. It was designed that way. If you want these to meet in the middle, then your extra panels would need to be 5 inches instead of 4.5, and they would need scoring at 2.5 instead of 2.25, so that these actually came over and met in the middle. I wanted that little gap down the centre there so that you could see that there was something else going on behind the design. So the first thing I'm going to do is pop these together so that we can see how this is going to work. And I'm just going to take a tiny, tiny smidge off my glue tab, just to make sure that there are no edges. if I've been a bit wonky with my cutting or anything like that. Just a tiny bit off the edges here to make a glue tab. And I'm also just going to cut a smidge off this side. So when this comes together here like so, I want this finished one to measure 5 inches when it's closed. And because we've pushed that score line in, when we measure here now, you can see that it's just a smidge over the 5 inches. And that's because that score line for the glue tab is wrapping around here. So what I'm going to do is just take literally the old fly's eyelash, and it is literally the width of the score line. It's probably less than a 1/16 of an inch. So I've got it lined up at 5 here, and I'm just going to take that tiny piece off. So it's the equivalent of the score line in this side here, and it will sit together much better when you pop it together. And then I'm going to add some glue to the glue tab. I'm going to use my Nuvo glue here. Make sure I've got this the right way. So I've got the linen side facing up, I've got the cut side on the outside, and this is going to go around the back of this one. So I want my glue on this top side here, which is the linen side on mine. If you have a smooth cardstock, it's not so sort of important that you keep it the right way round. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to line these up and pop it up to the score line, not over it, and make sure that this one folds round and these edges meet together nicely. And then we can give it a good press down. We can pop it on the back and burnish that tab that we've just stuck down. And then that's round the back of the card, so nobody's actually going to see that bit. And then you've got your fold back, double fold back even, ready to go. All right, now there's not going to be a lot of this side showing, so worrying about the linen side of the cardstock is just me being me with the OCD. If you've got a plain cardstock, fine. We're going to mat and layer most of this anyway. I just wanted to make sure that if any of it was visible, it was going to be seen on this side. So the next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to build up that matte layer in the back here. All right, so I've used my gold satin card, and I did take the center out of this to make some of the other mats. So I've actually got my card mat here, the gold, and you can just see where I've actually taken the rectangle out of the middle to make one of the other mats. But the gold mat is 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. So I've come down 1/4 of an inch, and this is going to sit nicely now with a nice cream border round the edge inside that back panel. Oh, excuse me. Now I haven't put any measurements for the paper layers, but I've come down 1/8 of an inch for all the paper layers. So 1/4 of an inch for the mat, 1/8 of an inch. So for example, this one will measure 6 5/8 tall by 4 1/4. All right, so just coming down that no, sorry, not 3/4, 4 5/8. Yeah, just coming down that 1/8 of an inch. But if you want to come down 1/4 of an inch, absolutely fine. And then I'm actually going to use my tape runner, I think, here rather than the wet glue, because it will give me an instant stick. So let's just move the card blank out of the way, Jan, so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to run my tape around the edge of the panel, and we're going to pop this straight into the back of the card. I'm going to pop a bit on here as well, just so that that paper, it's not deep enough to be a problem in the back of there. And my paper's not directional, so I'm not too worried about which way around it's going to go. If you've got a directional paper, just be aware of that, which way you want it to go. And then this one is just going to go straight into the back with that border, equal border, pretty much all the way around the edge. And then just give it a good burnish into place. Like so. So that's the back of it started. All right, you can see we've got that spotty paper in the back. Then I made the panel. I was going to leave the back blank, as I say, to start off with, and it looked a little bit bare. So I created the panel without the stamping on, and that looked a little bit bare. So then it emerged that we'd got the extra greeting. So yeah, there is a lot of greetings on here, but it is, you know, it is a family birthday card, so it was worth that extra stretch. So the panel with the greeting on, I've cut a piece of pink, which is going to tie in with that pink spotty paper on the front. And the pink panel measures 5 3/8 by 3 3/8. And then again, I've come down 1/8 of an inch for the cream. I've used some of my washi tape on here. This has got a lovely gold crackle in it here. And I've just wrapped that around the bottom, stamped the greeting, and then I've just got some little tiny decorations there that we've put on. And again, I'm going to pop this one straight into the back. So we'll pop that tape runner on here today. You can use your wet glues, you can use your tapes, whatever your adhesive, your choice of adhesive is. Okay, and I got this one off center, so it's actually closer to the top than it is the bottom. It's even at each side, but I just wanted it that little bit higher up. So I'm going to do the same again for this one. I'm going to look at sort of either side. And then I'm going to use those dots on the paper there to sort of help me get it lined up. And I'm going to go sort of around about there, I think. And I just wanted a little bit more at the bottom than I had up at the top. I'm okay with that one. So once we've got that in place, we can give that a good press down. And that's that centre panel sorted in the back. So when we close this up, we're now going to look at these side panels here. And that's where I'd put the dotty paper. This was the first paper that I pulled out, the pink. And I love the combination of pink and gold together. I don't know what it is about it. It just looks really classy. So I've got 2 panels for the front here, 1 for each side. And again, I've gone with the matte gold at 6 3/4 inches, which is the same height as what it was in the back. And it's 2 inches wide. This was 2 1/4, so we've gone 2 inches onto the mat again. And then the pattern paper is just that 1/8 of an inch smaller again. So again, I'm actually going to use my wet glue on this one. In fact, I think we'll actually use the all-purpose glue, purely because that's the bit that's going to be opening and closing, so there's going to be more movement in that. And I'm always flitting around between the glues. It's like, what's fit for purpose? What you're actually wanting your adhesive to do. If it's something that's staying still, you know, then you can get away with different adhesives. But because this is the moving part of the card, I want something that I know is nice and strong. There isn't really a right or wrong way to my paper. So I'm going to pop these on here. And again, we've got that nice 1/4 of an inch border. I want to make sure that it lines up with the panel inside. And then when I'm happy with it, apply that little bit of pressure for that glue to start curing. And then we can leave that one to do its thing. And then I'm going to do the same with this one. So if you, as I say, if you prefer the tape, I have used tape on elements of mine. I've got some really good double-sided tape now from Sticks 2. I never used to be a lover of the double-sided tape, but I have been using it more recently, and I've got such a stash of it that I'm working on trying to use some things up to create some space in the craft room, because it is literally full to the hilt. I've got things on the floor. I'm climbing over them. I know you can all associate with it, because we're all the same. No matter how much space you've got, you fill it. It's like anywhere in the house, I think. You know, the more space you've got, the more things you keep. And I am a hoarder. My husband goes mad. I am a hoarder. I'm going to save it just in case that one rainy day you might need it. You know, and it's like a billion years away, but you never know. So yeah, that's my front. Okay, and again, you know, you might want to leave it here, pop a happy birthday on the front, and sorted. But we're going to take it that step further. We're going to put those extra panels on the front now. So I'm going to pop that to one side to dry for a second and bring in the 2 panels that we're going to decorate. So the very front panel, I've called this the focal panel. This is going to be this one at the front here. Is a 6 by 4 piece of the cream cardstock. All right, so I've used the same cardstock as what I used to make the card blank with. I used 2 sheets of A4 to make it all in total. So this one's going to go on here at 6 inches by 4 inches. Then I've come down 1/4 of an inch, so my matte layer will be 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then I've come down again for the cream panel. So this is going to be the one that we build up here. I've included a little bit of that washi tape again with that crackle on, and I wanted to introduce the pink, and this one just happened to be sat on my desk. It's got little tiny flowers on, but they do look like dots. They're so small, so I've popped a couple of layers, different widths on there, and again, you can't see a lot of it. It's just breaking that vertical design. You've heard me talk about this before. If something's going vertical, I like to have something going across on the horizontal as well. So we've done that one. We're going to add all the topper details to that one, all right? And then I've already stamped my inside one and heat embossed here. So this one, again, this has got the cream cardstock on the back that measures 5 inches by 3.5. Come down 1/4 of an inch for the gold layer, come down again for the cream layer, okay? And this is the one that's going to fit on here. And all I've done is just use my happy birthday stamp. It's actually the same stamp that I used on my other daughter, my youngest daughter's card. I'd still got them out, and I love the stamp set. It's an old Crafter's Companion one. It is just called Happy Birthday, and there's lots of different fonts, but this one, if you've got a bigger space, I just love the font on this one. And that's all I've used with my Versamark ink and gold embossing powder there. So you've just got that lovely elegance of the embossing powder, and that's going to be that inside one. So what I did with these, then we're going to decorate that top one once we've put it in situ. So I started with the front one. And what I want to do is get this pretty much in the centre here at the front. So I've already put a couple of rows of double-sided tape down this left-hand side. This is going to stick on the left. This one's going to stick on the right. So I've got my double-sided tape down the right-hand side on this one. All right, but I want this one to sit pretty much in the middle here like this, so that there is an equal border of the pink all the way round it. Okay, now yes, there's a lot of mats and layers on here, and if that's not your thing, you can omit the gold layer and just use the pattern paper. Might just have the gold layer on the front. As I say, family birthday card, I wanted to sort of go all out for it. I always try and make really nice ones for the family ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to take off the liner from my wide double-sided tape there. See if I can get under that one. There we go. I'm also going to add a little bit of glue as well, and it's not that I don't trust the tape, it's just that it's going to give me that little bit of wiggle room if I need it to get this in the right place, because the tape does grab, and once it's grabbed, it's not always easy to move something then. So I'm going to hover. I've got the decoration at the bottom. Make sure this is all the right way up. I'm going to hover over here, pop it to, and I'm going to use this side that doesn't have any glue on to do the lining up. So I'm looking all the way around it to get a roughly, as best as I can by eye, an even sort of space all the way around there. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to apply some pressure to this side. So turn it over and give it a good press. And again, you know, you may want to just leave it there. That could be enough. You might not even want this extra flap on it. You know, it could just be a fold in. So again, lots of variation with this one. Lots of different ways that you could actually do it. You know, this one could fold all the way in. You know, again, however you want to translate it, if you want to have a go at it. And then we're going to decorate that front one. The inside one is going to stick on here. And I want this one to sort of go in the centre again. All right, so I've put my tape on this side. We're going to do the same again. Take off the liner. Oops, that's it. Again, I'm just going to add a little bit of that glue so that it doesn't grab. Okay, and then what I want to do is, I'm holding the side that's not sticky. This time I want to look at this bit and this bit and pretty much get this one centered in the middle of the whole section. So I want the same down the right hand side. Let me just double check with that one, because I think it pretty much yeah, it just about lines up. I didn't realise that with the one underneath at the bottom. That one's taller, but yeah, it just about lines up with that one underneath. I think that's probably about the right place for it. Like so. Make sure that that side, that glue just gives you that second or two to wriggle anything in straight. Yep, and then once we're happy, again, I'm going to go from the back of it and apply that pressure. Okay, so this one covers it, so it's a sort of a little bit of a surprise. You know, you take this out of the envelope and you've got a lovely card that's going to have its detail on the front, and it's not until you open the card that it actually, oh, there's another sentiment there, and I can see there, and that's going to bug me, that I've got a little tiny bit of glue on my mirror card there. So I'm just going to use the glue eraser, and it just picks it up. Once the glue's dry, these are worth their weight in salt. Yeah, there we go. So that is essentially the bones of the card. All right, we've got that base card, we've done our matting and layering, and we've got our detail inside. So all there is left to do is just pop those details on the front. So I have a couple of old books that I picked up in my charity store that I use for this purpose, and what I've done is I stuck a couple of pages together and then use my little book page die. I've got a set of 3 of these. This is the only die that I really used other than the flowers, and I've cut out through the 2 layers of book paper just to give it a little bit more substance. I've inked around the edge of it with a little bit of pink ink just to pick up the pink in the paper, and then I've used my stamp to stamp the books on there in my VersaFine Clay. I've used the brown. It was a little bit less harsh than the black. This one's Fallen Leaves, and then we've got that tiny little heart just in the top there. So this one is going to go, and again, I was umming and ahhing. I thought there's a lot of straightness going on. I have actually tilted this one just to one side. I was very proud of myself because I don't usually do wonky. The OCD likes things straight, but yeah, we've got a lot of straight edges and a lot of angles, and I thought, you know what, we can go rogue. So I'm going to take the liner off the back of here. I've popped some bits of tape on there, and I am going to pop this one just down at an angle on the front here, and I'm just going to pop some wet glue on those little edges, because the tape didn't go that far. Where we've got the book edge here, I'm just going to add a little drop on each one to make sure that they don't get caught when it goes in and out of an envelope. And then we're going to pop this down. I'm going to use the tweezers so that I can hover over it and see where I want it to go. And I'm going to go sort of around about there, just at an angle that looks pleasing. We can see a little bit of the washi tape at either side, and then give that a press down. I'm not going to press too hard on there because I don't want that glue to squidge out. And that's the main part of my decoration. And then in here I've got an extra little sentiment. Oh, nearly, look, I knew I'd forget to do that. Let me just see if I can get underneath here. Nope, don't want to risk it. I actually popped my little, I've got some cute little paper clips, and I popped that. I might have to just stick that on the front this time. I'd forgotten to put it on. I knew I would. I'd left it in the pot, and I knew I'd just put it on here as an extra element here. Just look very cute, and it's got a little heart in it which matched this one. So I may have to leave it off this time because I've forgotten to put it. I knew I wouldn't forget it. And then I've just die cut using, you know, whatever dies you've got about. I have got a couple of pink ones cut out of some pink scrap out of the scrap box, and then this was a little tiny bit of the polka dot one that was left over, and I've just put these, and we're going to have one at the top, and we're going to have a couple at the bottom corner here like so. And then it just looked a little bit bare, and that's where this sentiment came in. And again, it says have a wonderful day, and this has been done in that gold embossing powder again to keep the theme, and that's going to go right down at the bottom. So I'm going to pop that on first so that I know how much room I've got. Get rid of that bit, and I want this to go literally right down near the bottom corner, just to fill that space there in the bottom edge. and then that'll let me know how much room I've got to put the flowers down. So we're going to go sort of there and there, I think. So I want that one in first. And again, I'm just going to put glue on the back of the flower there and put that one about there. So there's no exact. I just wanted the two opposite corners just to give it a little bit of sort of contrast there. And then again, we're going to put glue on the back of this one. And that one's going to go round the corner, just overlapping a fraction there, like so. Hold that one down. And then this one, we're going to do the same again. Little bit of glue in the middle. And this one's just going to go in that top corner, just to offset. I've put a gold bead in the middle of that one. And we've got some little gold die cuts in the middle of those. Again, keeping that pink and gold theme all the way through. And the only thing, as always, I don't usually put them on the one that I make on video. Again, it's not that I haven't got hundreds of them, but you know, you don't want to waste them, because I don't always keep the ones that I make on video. I keep the samples. I will actually keep this one because the original one will be going to my daughter. But that is pretty much where we'd got to. We've got our focal point on the front, which I've sort of made specific to my daughter. Then when it opens, you've got that greeting. And then it opens again, and I think there'll probably be enough room to write to Vanessa, and then a little message under here, because I can always write, if I use the right pen, I can always write over the top of the washi tape there. And then it stands up. You know, it is quite a nice one to stand up when it's finished. And like I said, the only thing that I've done differently on this one is I've added some extra beads. So I'd put one in the centre of here. I've just added 4 more to make my 5. And as you know, if you watch me regularly, they nearly always travel to draw your eye through either the sentiment or the focal point on there. And then my little paper clip. Now there is an extra bit on this one because it was going to go to my daughter. When I opened it up here, I couldn't make my mind up whether it was too bare inside. And again, this is personal preference, you know, so I was like, what am I going to do with it? My initial thought was to put a couple of embossed panels here. I thought cream on cream. I don't want to distract from here. I might try, and then I thought that's going to increase the bulk when we close the card if we've got embossed card inside. So that idea went out of the window. Then I thought, oh, I'll put some more pattern paper in. And I thought the obvious one would be the pink polka dot. But again, it was too much. It was too much. There was too much going on. So it's a personal preference as to whether you want to do anything in there. And I'm not going to do it on this one, but I'll show you what I arrived at. I'd got some scraps left over, and all I've done is just use some thin pieces because I didn't want to detract from the middle. I've got a strip of the gold, a strip of the pink polka dot, and I've just die cut one of the same flowers that's on here in the cream. So it's using the same colours, and it's just added that bit of something because this is a special family card. Again, you know, whether it's necessary, who knows, but you know, it's my card for my daughter, and that's what I decided on. So yeah, are you on the, you know, keep it blank train? Do you prefer that nice clean look inside, or do you like the extra decoration? Let me know in the comments. It's always nice to hear from you. And everybody's different. As I say, you know, you may decide you want to put something completely different in there. You might leave it blank. It was like, do I do it? I thought, no, just stop. You know, I was laughing the other day about doing a clean and simple card for you guys, because I literally am. This is my style. Throw everything at it. It's usually got everything but the kitchen sink. And it's like, step away from the card, Jan. There is enough going on. So yeah, this is me. And it was time to stop. I thought that little extra addition inside was nice, but it was time to stop. So yeah, that's my card for today. Haven't decided yet whether I will put, if I do put a matte layer on the back, it'll just be a gold layer and the cream layer to write on, that's all. But I think I shall probably get away with writing inside here. So yeah, that's my card for today. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to fold it, what I'm going to call it. It might be a floating panel, I think, or a double floating panel, because these do look as if they're, you know, they're sort of literally in midair. It closes together, but when they're open, they are sort of like it's a floating. So yeah, and then it'll stand up to display, or you can even have it partly closed to display, or you could have it all the way open. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. If you're going to give it a try, let me know. You can find me over on Facebook at JB Crafts if you want to upload any photos or send me a message over there. Absolutely fine. Please give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. And if you're not a subscriber yet, we would love to have you as part of our merry little team. So for now, I'm going to sign off for now. Enjoy the rest of the day, whatever you're up to, and I'll be back very soon with another tutorial for you. Bye bye now.